Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for our show. Today we have three guests in the studio: Chelle Lindahl from the Local Living Venture, Ray Bowdish from the Weiser Center at SUNY Potsdam, and Wayne Samphier, who's an Environment and Pesticide Technician with the Saint Regis Mohawk studio. So we're going to be talking about the work that the Local Living Center is doing and a partnership that all three of them are doing with the Pollinator program. So Chelle, let's dive right in, shall we? Chelle, you've been on the show before, so it's nice to have you back. Nice to have you two gentlemen with us as well. Before we get into the Pollinator program, Chelle, let's talk a little bit about what the Local Living Venture is all about in general, and give folks an idea about what your organization is doing and trying to do.
Well, the Local Living Venture formed out of the previous Sustainable Energy Fair that I was the founder of back in 1992, and it had a good 17-year run, and we decided to not let it die when the nonprofit organization that was running it was no longer viable. And so we created the Local Living Festival, and we did 5 iterations of that. It was a wonderful event. Everybody enjoyed so much coming to this one day full of workshops and speakers and activities and what have you. So we decided, well, heck, why do it only in one day? And we started doing the workshops throughout the year. We do 50 to 60 of those workshops a year. And really the basis of a lot of that, we didn't stick with just sustainable energy when we switched over to the Local Living Festival, because we felt that there are so many skills here in the North Country, it was true then, and it's even more true now, that we can't depend on other folks to do things for us, government, what have you. It's great to have safety nets, all about that, but we need to be able to take care of ourselves. And the North Country is a place where those skills exist, and we've been doing that for quite some time here. So basically the idea was to be able to share those sustainable living skills, ways to live simply, cheaply, environmentally friendly, of course, fits in with all of that. And we've been doing all of these workshops that are related to food in all of its iterations, from growing it to cooking, eating, nutrition, composting at the other end of it,
And feeding the cycle all over again when that gets turned back into the garden.
Exactly.
A lot of the skills that you are teaching are skills that our grandparents and our great-grandparents just took as facts of life, and it wasn't something that they were just constantly doing them, and they were learning them at their parents' knees.
Right.
And then we kind of got away from that in the 50s and the 60s by going to grocery stores, and now here we've come full circle, and it's time to go back, isn't it?
It's interesting too, though. There are, we are not Luddites. We believe in appropriate technology, and for instance, we've been burning wood here for all these years, and we don't really burn it well. We lose a lot of the energy that we could be getting out of that wood by burning huge logs and smoldering fires. When you see smoke coming out of a chimney, that is wasted fuel, and that is pollution going into the environment. So that's another area that we work in. And sustainable forestry, showing people how to do these things in small scale ways, and renewable energy, small scale.
Right.
Do it yourself, and how you can do it cheaply and
at the household and the community level.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So let's give folks just a little idea, Chelle, about how the Local Living Venture really works. You guys run on a small staff and a budget that would make anybody just shake their head at, don't you?
I say we put the nonprofit in nonprofit, yes. I think our average budget is about $15,000 a year, and we put out tremendous programming on that. And a lot of that is because it is almost all volunteer labor. We do have 20 hours a week of staff time that we pay for, but that was kind of a decision at one point, Chelle, do you want to get paid or do you want help? please give me help, you know. So we do have that expense, but we don't have the expense of an office. We can't afford things like that. We have a storage unit, and you know, we've been sustaining this for a long time, kind of on the backs of a lot of this volunteer labor, and so there are some big changes coming up in the local living venture soon. I'll show you my little prop here. Folks may be familiar with this sign. It's, you know, you see this posted all around the North Country at various workshop sites where we're putting on an event, and you will be seeing a lot less of those come the spring of 2019. It may be just a one season hiatus. It's yet to be determined, but at this point, I spend 50 to 80 hours a week on this for free, and I can't do that right now. I have other things in my life, and so I'm taking a little break from the workshops, which take every one of them takes 10, 15, 20 hours of my time to create, and when you're doing 60 a year, you know, do the numbers, right?
Well, one of the things we know, just as you have talked about the evolution of the organization from its roots to now, is that you find new ways to do things. So there will be something that comes out of this that meets everybody's needs and is not such a huge drain on the volunteers, isn't it?
Well, I hope so, and you know, we need new blood in the organization. We're all putting in so much time just trying to do the jobs that we have that it's very hard to recruit other people, and you don't want to go out there and say, help, we're desperate. You know, that's not the message you want to put out there. But you know, it has led to this point where because I can't commit that time, we're going to do a hiatus on that. Now, I will say we will continue our programming. We will. The workshops is only one thing that we do, and we'll get into the Pollinator Project in a little bit. We also have our Renewable Energy and Green Buildings home tours coming up, and that will be April 27th. That's a huge project, and that's something we can get sponsorship funding for. The workshops are something that cannot and do not pay for themselves. We cannot charge in the North Country what it costs to produce them. So those have been a constant losing proposition that we have to beg, borrow, and not quite steal to keep ourselves funded just to keep going. So, you know, things like the energy tours and things like that, we can get sponsorship, and that will help us to maintain. So any sponsors out there?
Contact the local living venture. And actually, you know, I was sharing with you the other day that and when it comes to sustainable energy and things like solar, it's that person-to-person contact that really sells a program, because somebody wants to know the nitty-gritty of how does it work to put a solar panel on your roof, does it pay you back? And when you talk to someone who's gone through that process, you learn the details you need to know in order to make a good decision.
Yes, absolutely, and that's very much the point of the home tours. And it includes everything from all of these great new on-grid projects, of which you are one of those folks. And which is a newer element, and we've been doing these tours since 1992, so this is the 27th year. And also, you know, to my own camp out near Russell, that is, I live very primitively. I don't even have running water. I have walking water, as I say, so carrying my buckets, you know. But you know, so people can get a really wide range of experiences on these tours, and through local living workshops. I should say there will be a couple of workshops, you know, the shiitake mushroom in the spring, that's just such a popular one. And it's easy for us to do because we've done it so many times. And, you know,
there's not a lot of setup to that.
So there will be a few like that, but for the most part we will be taking a little break. And what I'd really like to encourage is that I know there are people out there that just feel like, you know, they love what we're doing. I mean, I know a person who moved here in large part because the local living venture existed. And, you know, that, boy, that warms the heart. But, you know, I think a lot of people really love what we're doing and really appreciate having these workshops available. But if we don't get some help,
Yeah, we're gonna have to change your model a little bit, so.
You know, so I'd like to encourage anybody that's interested in participating. There are so many ways to plug in,
Right.
and it's so much fun. I mean, I go to these workshops, I go to all of these workshops, and just the experience of people getting the joy from learning these things and walking away from these workshops, I can't tell you.
With a hands-on practical skill they can use for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
It's a big investment in personal independence, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and people really appreciate it. I hope they appreciate it enough to come around and help us, you know, volunteer financially, however they can do it, because we need it all, and it's a good thing. We want to keep it going.
So, Shelley, when you were here last fall, we talked a little bit about the startup of this new collaborative program that you're doing, the Pollinator Partnership program. And those of us who pay attention to the environment and climate news have been reading and hearing for quite some time now about the problem that our pollinators have been having. So let's, talk a little bit about where the pollinator program is now. It's you're about through your first year, so you've got some time under your belt. First of all, let's talk a little bit about who are the pollinators. They're not just honeybees, are they?
No, absolutely not. And one nice thing, we have this beautiful brochure, and one of the first things you'll see in there is a list of some of the other pollinators. There are butterflies and bees, obviously. We tend to think of the bees and the butterflies, and honeybees specifically. Wayne has a lot of experience with the mason bees locally. That's a native bee that pollinates 5 to 20 times as much as a honeybee does. And that's a local native bee, whereas the European honeybee is from Europe. It's not exactly invasive, it's assimilated well, but it is not one of our natural critters here. The butterflies, everybody thinks of monarchs. There's way more butterflies than just the monarchs. Moths, bats, birds, certain birds, hummingbirds certainly. There's just a whole lot of some kinds of flies even pollinate. So there's a whole lot more than just the monarch butterfly and the honeybee that helps us. And 90% of the wild foods, and I forget the percentage now, I think it's 35% of commercial or grown food for humans depends on pollinators. Right. So this is not kind of this airy-fairy, let's help the environment thing.
This is, do you like to eat?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you. Wayne, will you talk to us a little bit about what you do for the Saint Regis Mohawk Tribe and how your organization decided to become a partner in this pollinator protection program?
Well, being a environmental technician and pesticide technician, that includes many hats, of course. With the environmental technician part, there's different projects with invasives, invasive plants, invasive insects. With the invasive insects, be your emerald ash borer that's in the limelight right now. Right. With the ash trees, and we're in the Sentinel project down there. We have like 202 trees down in Akwesasne for the Sentinel project this winter. Also, being in the environment, we have an environmental response team for anything, part of that. Outreach events, we do all kinds of stuff relating to pollinators. Tree and Seed Day, give out seed that we receive from Weiser Center, and the alcohol grant and stuff like that. We'll talk more about. There it is right there. Which we planted it on my house. I planted a little strip of it, and I still have flowers up, and this is November.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, they're still pumping. I can't believe it passed the frost and everything. There's some that's hardy seed right there. So yeah, we had the Weiser Center we got involved with, the seed giveaway. Let's see here.
I want to ask you, you were talking about invasive species. Have you seen a different set of invasive species that we can actually take and put climate change as one of the causes? Because obviously, if you're still having flowering plants in November, that's way beyond what used to be our traditional flowering season.
Yeah, if you Googled, for instance, the EAB and watched the timeline on that, on how it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and covers 33 states now. There's new invasive insects and plants being introduced every day.
Would you define ABB for us? Not
Oh
everybody's
yeah,
probably
I'm
familiar.
sorry about
No,
that.
that's okay.
I'm doing the lingo. EAB is the emerald ash borer.
Oh, okay.
Okay. When I'm out, I have traps. I work with. We work with, not me. The tribe works with the USDA. On
These
that.
are the purple, the big purple boxes that are in trees?
They found they didn't work as well, so they
Okay.
went to the green funnel traps
Okay.
that actually work better. But the best method for finding out if you have EAB is the Sentinel Tree Project, which is you're actually girdling a tree, and the tree actually goes in stress. And yes, trees talk, so they're giving out pheromones, saying that they're in trouble. The bugs that pick this up, and they'll go and lay their eggs in it. So now the eggs will obviously go to larvae, pupil, and come out as an adult in that tree and kill the tree. But yeah, the trees do that
Right.
with the sentinel.
Okay.
So other than that, we had the exotic bark beetle I was trapping for this summer, the Asian gypsy moth or the Asian defoliated moth, the emerald ash borer, the cherry fruit fly, and there's a fifth one.
And those are all new to this area?
Yeah, well,
And
the
they're-
cherry fruit fly is one of the newer ones,
Right.
and I
Spotted
can't,
winged Drosophila, maybe?
there's a fifth one.
The spotted winged Drosophila, or no? Is it a different
No,
other
no, the spotted the lantern fly is
Oh,
really
yeah,
next.
that's right. I saw.
That's
I've seen some
that's in the
stuff
big
about that.
news now.
Right.
That's coming. But oak ambrosia beetle, which goes after the oak trees. That was the fifth one. That's what we did this summer. Next summer is probably going to change with the lantern fly. We're probably going to have to trap for that, and we're dropping the EAB traps because I was picking them up on a weekly basis in Akwesasne on 37. So that's why we did the Sentinel Tree Project to try to, there's a few projects in there for that. Well, let's get away from the invasive insects, go to invasive plants. We just started a project up with the Phragmites. Okay, this is kind of different with the Phragmites in my perspective because I'm like pollination, and I know that in the United States there's 4,000 bees. Okay, 70% of them burrow in the ground. There are mason bees and leafcutter bees. Leafcutter bees were the ones that we were dealing with this spring, which is a lot like the mason bees. They act the same way, but they pollinate like crazy. They're awesome. So, where was I going with this?
Oh, just kind of why you got involved in the Pollinator Protection Program, and you've described that very well for us. So,
Yeah.
why it fits in so well with your work.
So, the leafcutter bees, anyways, we started a project with that. We'll go back to the Boys and Girls Club part of it. We started a project where we're going to introduce that pollinator to the community, and the way to do that, to get the children involved and have the families come in. And I had it arranged in the timeline where it falls on Mother's Day, so the kids actually give their mother the present at the end of the project. And it worked out pretty good at Tasha Guani. She's new to the environment, and she actually is working on her master's through Utah University, I believe, for the leafcutter bees. So she knows a lot about it. She had this stuff, and she got the plans together and everything, and it actually turned out real well, where they want us to return and do it again next year. So at the bee meetings that we go to with a local living venture hosts the St. Lawrence County in Canton bee meeting, and then we decided that in Franklin County, that's where the Environment Tribe is that we'll have a bee meeting there too, like a brother or sister, what do you want to call it, club to local live adventure, follow what they do, and the training we utilize, they have their workshops, so we'll just, let the membership know, and they can participate or follow suit. So, long story short is, come into the picture, it's fairly recent, and says, hey, and Shelley, they're working together getting the Pollination Partnership program going, and we kind of got involved with it too and helped out any way we could, and it kind of was a good working relationship, I think.
Okay, well, that's a good segue to Ray. You're with the Weiser Center at SUNY Potsdam, so
Right.
tell us a little bit about the Weiser Center and the work that you're doing and how the Pollinator Project is a good fit for your organization.
Right. So the Weiser Center, it comprises couple of greenhouses and teaching space that's connected to Stoll Hall at SUNY Potsdam. It's within the biology department of SUNY Potsdam, but it stands for the Wagner Institute for Sustainability and Ecological Research. And the goal of our group and center is outreach to our campus, to our community, and to the globe to try to educate as many people as we can about issues of sustainability and ecology. So that bleeds into things like conservation, energy, and so forth.
Food production, obviously.
Food production
yeah.
is right at the center of it. So our main objectives include partnering with the Unitarian Universalist Church's U-Share Committee for food security, and the Cecily Garden that they've had in Lehman Park for a number of years was somewhat understaffed as the population ages and demographics shift around. And so we partnered with them, and our students now are working toward those goals. That's a big part of it. We also have a program with local school districts that's very important, using tower gardens and aeroponics. The tower gardens are essentially what I call a learning appliance or educational appliance. It's like hydroponics, but the children can grow plants right in any classroom, anywhere. It's very mobile, and there's an entire curriculum attached to it that gets 3rd to 5th graders growing food, learning about the environment, and understanding some basic science along the way. But the beauty of teaching through food is you can go anywhere. You can go to history, you can go to biology, you can go to art, you can go to music and so forth. Math, lots and lots of math, yeah. And so that's another big component of our programming. And I would say the hyper-local foods that come out of our tower gardens on campus, we have a group of 12 gardens where we produce food for Dexter's Cafe, it's part of Pacey's, our dining services. And also we have growing racks from 2445 Organics, the local company, and we use their super grow racks in 2 of the dining halls. And all this has happened out of a grant that the campus got with Alcoa.
Okay.
And this initial grant was $150,000 over 3 years, and it's afforded the systems that we're growing with now, the outreach and the programming that we've done with Local Living Venture, and the partnership that we've had with the folks at Akwesasne, where we've been able to do things like buy pollinator seed and help to afford some of the printing costs and publication costs for these things. But you know, how we got involved, I've known Chelle for years, and just met Wayne through the bee group, and that's how that got started. I wanted beekeeping and pollination to be a part of our programming because it's so vital.
Right.
And it was just a natural fit. So with the center being up and running, although the Local Living Venture traditionally goes to people's homes or goes to different sites, we're sort of trying to spin this new idea of using our facilities on campus for workshops. So we've had
Fabulous facilities too,
yeah,
I will say.
hopefully folks can
You know,
visit.
this is the beauty of these kind of networks, because everybody, all the partners bring something a little different
Yeah.
Absolutely.
to the program, and yet the whole is much larger than any one of you could do on your own.
Correct,
Yeah.
and you know, recently we've worked a lot with Cornell Cooperative Extension. I'm actually, right now, I'm in the middle of my Master Gardener Volunteer course, which I found very valuable in terms of networking with other folks that are interested in food production. So going forward with the Pollinator Protection Program, we've started gardens actually out in Lehman Park right now with swamp milkweed, which is a native plant that is a very excellent plant for pollinators. And we're trying to start bulking up seed. Most of the seed we get are from non-native species. They're not invasive species, but they're non-native. and we're trying to progress forward. We'll start with these, and just like Wayne, I have a patch at my house of these flowers as well. The frost got mine, but they have been very prolific and supported our pollinators. So before we go forward with our beekeeping and other initiatives, we're really trying to build pollinator species in and around campus. If we could have our communities adopt these pollinator patches, take up some of their lawn, and not mow it, and allow pollinators to utilize that space, I think there's a huge opportunity for education there. Just a quick anecdote, a friend of mine who actually she teaches at SLU, has 2 young children. She started the pollinator patch and has been bringing those children out to the patch, and they've been learning about insects and different types of butterflies and different types of plants.
It's a little lab right in your own property, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
and she said, I was a little worried about whether or not it would take off, but we've been able to provide the kind of technical advice that folks need to get these patches going, and she just enjoyed it all summer long. And even though it was a dry summer and folks were worried about drought early on, again, I agree with Wayne, the seed mix that we have through this company has been just excellent.
So it's surviving no matter what the conditions are.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Well, so the project then, you distribute seed packs to folks who then make a commitment to turn over a small part of their property to this, right?
Right.
Or maybe a large part, depending on what they have.
And Chelle can speak more to that. It really is something where there are different sized patches that we're looking for. The bigger the better, I would say, but
Yeah, basically, in the brochure that we can get to folks, even electronically, through Local Living Venture, the Pollinator Pals program is pretty much what we're talking about.
Right.
The larger project is including workshops and other activities, but the Pollinator Pals is a way that people can specifically get involved in the program and get a packet of seeds. This plants about 2 tables worth, if you will, kind of standard 2x8 tables is what's in here. We can also get larger amounts of seed for people if they have acreage they want to put into production. And the idea is, and one of the fun things students will be working on and what have you, is GIS mapping this so that we can see the county become populated as a place that is a haven for not just our own native pollinators, but ones that are passing through, like the monarchs and other things. So that's very much a way that people can get involved personally in planting the seeds. And now's a great time to prepare for the spring planting. So, get the ground bare and keep it covered over the winter and what have you. And it should work out really nicely for folks. And it is a beautiful mix. And it's set up so that it's successional. There's always something blooming.
Right.
So that's very nice.
They're mixed beds.
Yes,
They're
people have been
mixed
very pleased with
That's the
that.
main goal, is to have a continuous blooming throughout the whole
Right.
season, from spring right to fall. That's the best benefits for your pollinators,
Now,
is to have
I'm
continuous food
also
supply.
thinking that there'd be opportunities here for towns and villages who have spare acreage to
Certainly.
also get involved in this. It doesn't
Potentially.
just have to be,
Yep.
folks on their own property, does
Now,
it?
folks like that would naturally become community partners
Right.
with us, rather than just individuals being a pollinator pal.
Right.
And we have one very important partnership right now that we have is with Nature Up North at St. Lawrence University. They will be helping, and of course the Weiser and SUNY Potsdam students and perhaps some folks from the tribe as well will be helping to put together citizen science projects that over the course of the summer people can engage in, and I'd like to make sure that we include our young ones, fun things for them to do, but also things that are scientifically helpful to us and help track, maybe we can do some days where we're doing, they do an annual butterfly count of the monarchs and things like that. But I'm really looking forward to, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to be too engaged in that, but I'm looking forward to what kinds of fun things people can get engaged in that way. either as a pollinator pal, doing the citizen science, which includes even just photographing
Right.
things, and we'll put them up on the websites, or being a community partner in the project. The Potsdam Food Co-op, Cinema 10, AdirondackAction.org has had a pollinator program that helped inspire this one. So, you know, there's various folks that are already community, and the Child Care Center at SUNY Potsdam, I can't
So there's
remember their
lots of
name.
opportunity for growth here in this particular area, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Right, well, that's great. Well, as we wrap up here, I appreciate everybody coming in and talking about this. This is obviously a program that we'll have opportunities to come back and talk more about it as you expand and grow. Shelley, I want to give you a chance to give your little pumpkin pie pitch as we close up.
Absolutely. Dan and Megan Kent of Kent Family Growers have donated 150 pounds of wonderful pie pumpkins, real beautiful heritage pie pumpkins with great flavor, and we are going to be, this is our first year doing it, we hope to continue it as a yearly thing. We'll be making pumpkin pies for sale for Thanksgiving and the December holidays, and they can be pre-ordered through us. We'll be sending out mailings to folks about that soon, or you can contact us. I believe you're going to put up some information.
Yes, yeah, we'll have your
locallivingventure.org and
right.
locallivingventure@gmail. And we would love to get you some pumpkin pie. And next year we'll do apple too, but for our first year it was just too much to pull off.
All right, well, thank you, Wayne and Ray and Shelley. Thank you for coming in. I really appreciate this. This is such an important project, and it's talking about eating pumpkin pie. Those pumpkins have to be pollinated.
There you go. And the circle is completed.
It is, and those pumpkin seeds can then be recycled as well, can't they?
Absolutely.
So thank you for coming in. These conversations are a production of North Country Matters, which is filmed here in the Fred W. Cleveland Computer Center of the Potsdam Public Library. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters and American Association of University and the Potsdam Public Library. I want to just say to folks that this show brings to a close our 2018 season, which is our 14th season of North Country Matters. We'll be back in the spring with our 15th season, and until then, remember, our North Country Matters. Shelley, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot for coming in, Wayne. Wonderful to meet you.